Welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberly Coaching, where we help women recover from, find their confidence from, after and thrive after toxic relationships. Have you ever woke up one day and thought there's something wrong with this relationship, and you look back on the past and everything was good and wonderful and they seem so loving and kind, and what happened along the way? Where is that person I fell in love with? I want them back. Unfortunately, that person is not really there. So then we start thinking, what's wrong with me? Why did I fall for this? I'm sharing my screen with you as I'm talking. So the title of today is, How Did I Fall Into This Nightmare? What happened? And once we realize that it's this nightmare, once we realize something is wrong here, this is not right, the next thing we think of is, how could I have been so stupid? How could I have been so fooled, right? Well, so here's some things I want you to think about. First of all, the fact that this manipulator, this narcissist, this abuser was able to fool you says nothing about your intelligence. In fact, they often go after intelligent women because they get a bigger buzz from being able to own a powerful woman. So it doesn't mean you're stupid at all, even though you feel like it. One of the reasons that women like us tend to fall into these relationships is that we're kind and we're loving and we're patient, we're long-suffering, we're forgiving, we're giving people. And these are all great characteristics, and we don't want to stop being any of those. But these made us right for this kind of person, and perhaps we didn't know how to set our own boundaries to be able to have these characteristics but not be taken advantage of. Today, we're going to talk about some ways to know that we're being love bombed and some ways to not allow ourselves to be love bombed. Here are a couple other things that may be factors. So maybe you grew up in an abusive home. Maybe you saw abuse and love connected all the time. Maybe your father abused your mother, but then he said he loved her, or your mother said he loves me even though she let him abuse her. And this gets connected and confused in your mind. So if you grew up in one of those kind of relationships and kind of families, it makes sense that you wouldn't find this as intolerable as someone who grew up in a kind, loving home. So this is something that you might want to work on if this is one of the reasons that you are able to tolerate the abuse that came from this relationship. And one of the other things that we really have to work on is many of us have low self-esteem. And so we grow up thinking, I have to have a man, I have to have a romantic relationship, I have to have a boyfriend, I have to have a husband. And so we have to have this relationship. Because of that, and also because if we have this low self-esteem, maybe we don't feel very pretty, don't feel very sexy, maybe we haven't dated much. And then here this man comes and he's often they're handsome and charismatic and charming, and he's pouring all this love and attention on you. How could you not fall for it? It's very normal that we would fall for this if we feel this need. So if this was you, if this was part of the reason this happened to you, before you start looking for another relationship, you want to try to work on yourself, find a way to feel confident in your own self, feel complete in your own self, and not have to have the relationship. Once you don't have to have it, then you can find a healthy relationship where this relationship just adds to your life. It's not your whole life. So these are some things that you want to think about why you possibly fell into this. And if you want some help from this, some of these you may absolutely need some help with. As a coach, this is one of the things that I love helping people with. Help me to, so there's a link in the show notes that you can click and you can schedule a coaching session, a free coaching consult, and we can discuss whether I believe that you would be, we would be a good fit for coaching. So one of the last reasons that this happened to you is you were love bombed. This is what we're talking about today, is love bombing. Now, actually, there's 4 phases of a narcissistic relationship. We're just going to do the first one today. I'm going to do a really quick one, really quickly, to give you an idea of what they are. First, the first phase is called Idealize. They idealize you. They love bomb you. This is where they're giving you all the compliments and the flattery. This is what we're going to concentrate on today. But what happens is that's a lot of work. And after a while, when they feel like they've got you, they let down, they become who they are, and they start to devalue you. This happens in little, they're more irritable. All the good things they're doing before they don't do now. And then eventually, as that goes along, then they discard you. Now, they may actually leave, or they may not leave the home. They may just leave you emotionally, and you're like, wow, where did that man go that I fell in love with? And then if you decide, man, I don't like this, I'm getting out of this, you decide to get out of the relationship, then they move into the Hoover, and that's just like it says, a vacuum cleaner, like they try to suck you back in. So they start being good again. They start doing the love bombing thing again. So many women just do this cycle around and around and around. They start to realize this relationship is not good. I'm going to get out. He starts being nice again. She starts saying, oh, maybe he's changing. I'll give him another chance. Like again, we're kind, we're loving, we're patient, and it just keeps going around and around and around. If you are with a true narcissist, 99% chance they are not going to change. And so you're going to eventually have to do something. And we're going to talk about that later. Today, we're going to stick with the first one of the love bombing. So what is love bombing? The definition of this is overwhelming someone with signs of adoration and attraction. And this is designed to manipulate you into spending more time with the love bomber. Now, the key words here, the important part of this definition that differentiates love bombing from true affection, genuine affection, is that the intent is to manipulate you. This is not true love. They're just acting all the ways that they know that you want in order to make you think good of them, gain your trust, and then have control over you. And what makes this so scary is that this usually happens at the beginning of the relationship. You don't really know them. It's maybe really hard to tell if this person is love bombing you or if they're being genuine. We're going to have some tips toward the end of today's talk that will hopefully help you be able to discern that. So what's really difficult is you're uncertain about whether this is real, and then you're getting a rush from receiving all these affections. And sometimes because of that, the love bombing can become virtually undetectable. So let's talk about some red flags. First of all, let's kind of look at it from their viewpoint. What they do at the first is they become laser focused on you. They want to learn all about you. What do you like? What do you not like? And surprisingly, everything you like, they like also. You like the opera, they love the opera. You like to walk in the woods, they love to walk in the woods. Everything that you are and you want is what they are and they want. Can you believe it? Can you imagine it? Wow, this is so great and wonderful. But what they're doing is they're studying you. They're studying what you like, and they're mirroring back to you what you want and what you desire and what you need. So at this point, you are the center of their world. They're perching you atop this pedestal. This is why it's called the Idealize phase. And they're going above and beyond to make you feel truly special. Now, in reality, they're actually grooming you to where you become addicted to their attention and to where you have to have them. You feel like you can't live without them, and you deepen your investment in them. The next thing is this relationship moves at warp speed. I mean, you go on 1 or 2 dates and they are in love with you. And they are telling you all these wonderful things. They can't believe they've never met anyone like you. They've never loved anyone like you. They're talking about loving you, and it's just very, very early on. Now, in real life, even if, people who are mature and wise and normal people, even if you feel a strong attraction early on, we know as adults, we know that this is an infatuation or a crush. We're loving what we see on the outside, because all we're seeing is the outside and what that person is showing us. We have to have some time for us to be able to let down our guard. And we do the same thing. When you're dating, you show people your best side. We do it, they do it. And so you have to have some time to feel safe, to let down your guard, be your true self, let them let you see their true self, and then you can decide, is this truly love? So normal people are not going to be saying, I love you so early in the relationship. If someone is saying that to you so early, it means they don't care if they're getting to know you, because they don't know you and yet they're saying this. So this is a big red flag if they're coming on so fast, moving so fast. Another thing is it's going to be just extreme. They're extremely loving you. They want to spend time with you. I mean, you might go on a date and now all of a sudden they want to, every single night, they want to see you. They're going to text you and call you and compliments. Everything is just over and over above. Sometimes it seems a little fake, a little ingenuine, a little shallow, but if it's feeling so good, you may not be willing to let yourself look at these. Another thing is they may give you a lot of gifts, just constant gifts. Sometimes they're inappropriate, sometimes they're expensive. Things that it's too early. You shouldn't be giving me something this good. A woman told me a story about how she was with someone, and after a couple of weeks, he was in love with her, wanted her to marry him. She was like, well, I mean, maybe we'll can see as this goes along. Well, she did allow them to be going steady. And then she decided, at this point, they've been together a couple of months, she's like, she wasn't ready to be exclusive. And so she said, I want to still date you, but I want to be able to date other people also. I was visiting her from the weekend. They went to the mall. They went to the jewelry store, and he bought this big, beautiful diamond. She's like, this is too soon. I don't want that. He says, oh, I'm not buying it for you. I'm buying it for me. If you want it later, we can make it into an engagement ring. If not, I'll make it into a ring for me. What this was pure manipulation. He was pressuring her. I mean, what woman doesn't want a beautiful diamond ring? And he was pressuring her and making these bonds with her, that trying to push her into something she wasn't ready to do. Major red flag. She didn't see it till later. Some more red flags. Look at how they treat other people. Now, at this point, they're treating you golden. You're the princess. You could do all kinds of things. They don't get mad at you. They're patient. They're wonderful. But notice how they treat other people. What about the waiters and the waitresses at the store? What about animals? What about if you meet their parents? What about their mom? How are they treating other people? Now, it's really easy to sweep this under the rug if they're not good to them because they're treating you so well. But don't let yourself do this, because however they're treating them, later you are going to be that way. They're going to be treating you the same way later that they're treating those other people. So notice how they're treating the other people around them. It's a red flag if they're treating them poorly. Now, another thing, something might just feel a little off. It might feel too good to be true. I mean, this is your fantasy. This is your dream. How could I meet someone who is just so much in tune with me? They get me so much. We're so much alike. If it feels too good to be true, it probably is. They're moving too fast. Like we said, they're wanting to meet your family. They're wanting y'all to move in together. They're wanting you to get engaged. And so quickly, these are major red flags. They're trying to lock down your relationship. Another thing they want to do is they love playing the hero. And they might keep asking you about crappy things in your life. So when something bad comes in, they're going to swoop in, save the day, and then they're going to make a big deal about it. You are going to have to be so appreciative. They're just winning you over. Now, when they ask you about these things in your life, there's several reasons behind that. One is being the hero. Another thing is they want to reduce your sense of self-worth. They want all of your worth to come from your relationship with them. So they're going to try to cut away anything that you have in your life that's on your own, because they want you focused totally on them. And then the worst yet is whatever you tell them, if you tell them anything that's maybe your vulnerabilities or any difficulties you've had in your life, later on, they can use this, and probably will use this, as ammunition against you to make you feel worse later on, to make you more dependent on them. Now let's look at it from our viewpoint, the person who is being abused, the victim. First of all, you're going to feel a lot of confusion because this is going to be overwhelming. The sheer amount of communication. I mean, they're going to be texting you through the day, calling you. They're going to have interaction on social media. They're going to be putting all the little emojis. They're going to want to be meeting with you in person as often as possible. They're just going to be going whoosh. And this feels overwhelming. It feels wonderful. You're getting all this attention, and this is supposed to convince y'all of this special bond that you have. If you haven't experienced anything like this before, it's hard not to fall for this because it feels so wonderful. It's a whirlwind. It's like you see in the movies. The cameras are flashing. All these things are happening, and it's very hard to think clearly because it's so much. And so you feel some confusion there. The next thing is there's a lot of flattery. Oh my word, they are going to be complimenting you in every way, multiple compliments. They're going to just be telling you so much how beautiful and how wonderful and how kind. And it's almost irresistible. When you hear this all the time, it's hard to not believe it. It's hard not to surrender to this. It gives you a real ego boost, and it actually gives physical and chemical changes in your brain. It pops out those dopamines and endorphins, all those feel-good hormones. It's actually affecting you physically, and it's very, very hard not to get caught up in this. The next thing is dependency. They're going to try to make you as quickly as possible dependent on them. So they're going to be talking about how sure they are of this relationship. Oh my word, we're the ones that they want to spend time with you. If you're having other relationships with other people, doing other things, they're going to want to be either involved with you or they're going to try to pull you away from those. Eventually, they're going to totally pull you away from anything that you have out there, family, friends, any activities, anything that gives you a sense of self-worth apart from them. They're trying to isolate you, and so you feel like there's nobody. They're the only person that you have. So they're going to push you to reciprocate whatever feelings they're saying. They're going to, I love you so much. They're going to push you to be saying how much you love them. They're going to just take more of your time and your energy. And as I said, that they're going to be the person of great importance. And eventually, they will be your only source of love and warmth. And you'll get to where you feel like you can't live without this person. The next one is destiny. Oh my word, I've never felt this way before. This just feels like fate. I can't believe that we found each other. They just paint this picture. Oh my word, this has to be meant to be. Now remember, you're all being overwhelmed. You've got all this confusion. You've got all this flattery, all these feel goods. Everything's going on around you. And it's hard for you to think clearly at this point. And so you end up just believing what they say, and then you start to believe them. Well, maybe they're right. Maybe this is meant to be. This is fate. And we have to be together, even though there's this red flag here and that red flag there. And even if this seems a little off there, and even if maybe my friends are telling me, man, he's pulling you away or whatever, all this stuff, maybe he's right. Maybe this is meant to be. And they just start to let go of all the reality checks that they would have had before, because they're just, this love bombing is doing what it's supposed to do. And so they can do this really quickly. What turns into maybe just a couple of days turns into this full-blooded, intimate, physical and emotional relationship. And they blinded you with the false praise, with the feelings that never existed, and with tales of a happy and fruitful future together. And that is what we call future faking. We're actually going to have a whole talk on future faking later. But what this is where they talk about you of all these wonderful things that are going to happen. You're only going to go on these trips. You're only going to have this wonderful home and family, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. Now, they got all this from finding out what you want. And they're going to describe it all this is going to be. And it's never going to happen. Probably. Most of it is not ever going to happen. But they make it sound so beautiful and wonderful. And they make you feel like it is truly going to happen. Like I said, we'll do a whole thing on that in a few weeks. Here's some more emotional signs that you might be being love bombed. So you just feel special. Like I said, this happens at the beginning. They shower you with love. They present themselves to be exactly who you want them to be. And they're usually very clever. They have a very sixth sense of knowing what you want. During this time, you feel like you just can't get enough of this person. You're starting to feel like you've got someone so in tune with you. They get me, they hear me, they agree with me. We love everything. We are so compatible. We are can't think of the word I'm looking for there, but we're so much alike. We love all the same things. You start to feel intoxicated. It's truly like an addiction. You get to where you cannot be without them. They give you so much attention and flattery and gifts and love notes, telling you how perfect you are, how special you are. Make you feel so good that you ignore those red flags. And like I said, they're over the top, and then that's what helps you explain away the red flags. They say things like, oh, you're a perfect 10, no question about it. You're by far and away the sweetest and kindest person I've ever met. I could honestly stare into your eyes all day long. They're utterly beautiful. Now I read that to you and you say, who would fall for that? But they don't just say it. You've been together, had this candlelight dinner, and maybe you've been drinking a little wine, and you'll do a little snuggling, and then he says this to you, and it seems perfectly natural and normal, and oh, it's so wonderful. He thinks I'm so beautiful. It would take a really strong person to not fall for that. So in a while, you start thinking that you agree with them, that they're the one. You start letting down your guard, letting down your boundaries, even though they're not keeping your boundaries. You think you found the perfect mate. And if something happens and you get a red flag, then you make an explanation, you make an excuse. Oh, he's just having a bad day. And oh, that person must have really hurt him for him to feel that way. And you may start, if they tell you about all the people that hurt you before, you may feel like you are going to love them enough to take away the hurt, to take away the pain, to make them feel happy. You can do this. All right, now I want to give you some tips for how not to fall for love bombing. Number one, take it slow. Take it slow. No matter how attracted you feel, no matter how attracted they're showing you, take it slow. The only way you're ever going to find out, is this true love or is this love bombing, is it has to go long enough for them to feel comfortable enough that you start seeing who they truly are. Number two, be happy in yourself. Again, this is one of the major things that lets us fall for this, is when we feel like we have to have that relationship. Do whatever it takes to make yourself feel whole in yourself, feel comfortable in yourself. Again, this is where coaching can be a really big help for you. Other kinds of support groups can help also, but click the link in the show notes and we can schedule a session and talk about it. But make the relationship be something that is an addition to your life, not your life. Because you're going to be very ripe for falling into abuse anytime you feel like you have to have a relationship. And let yourself question things. If something doesn't feel right, question it. You can ask them questions and see how they answer. You can ask yourself questions and not be afraid of the answer. It's much easier for you to realize, whoa, I think I'm being love bombed here, and get out of the relationship now before you've spent years and years and you've moved in with them and you've gotten married and you've had kids, and now it's such a tangle and you're in so much pain to get out of this. So it's much better to ask yourself the hard questions now and be willing to look at the answers. Think about how does he talk about his exes? Are they always the one, they were terrible, he was wonderful, they were terrible, they treated him so badly? Is everything everybody else's fault? Has he lost some jobs, and was it always the people's fault? They didn't get him, they didn't understand him. If you remember, we talked about confusion. If you're confused, you don't know the other person so well. If you find yourself being separated, you might be being love bombed. So question that. We talked about watching how he treats others. Well, we talked about that he might treat other people poorly. So how does he treat people? Watch and make sure that you're looking and that you're allowing yourself to see it. And this one, y'all might be mad at me on this one, but I'm going to tell you, don't have sex early on. There's a reason why, as a Christian, I believe that God in the Bible said that sex is for marriage. Now, he did that because most women find sex a very highly emotional bonding experience. Most men, while in a marriage, they do find it emotionally bonding. Most of them can also just have sex as a physical experience that's enjoyable, and it doesn't bond them to the man. If you allow yourself to have sex early on with them, you start that emotional bonding before your mind and your brain has actually worked through everything to decide, is this the person I want to be with? Also, if you have sex early on, then you might feel like you have to marry them because you feel like since y'all had sex together. If you are a Christian and you don't believe you should be having it, but you're doing it anyway. If you have sex early on, you decide you shouldn't get married, just don't get married. It's okay. We can talk about this. You might not agree with me on this, but I do know that if you have it early, if they're pushing for you to have it early and you do it, you have connected yourself with them emotionally in a way that's going to be hard for you to pull yourself away from them if it turns out that this is not true love. How do they respect your boundaries? Now you can test this. You can possibly tell them you'll go out with them, and then early in the day or the day before say, oh, something came up, I can't do it, or tell them no. How do they react when you tell them no? That's okay if they get a little disappointed or a little irritated, that's normal. But do they get mad? Do they get angry? Do they fly off the handle? How do they respond? And if you do set a boundary for, I'm going to go this far but not that far, do they respect that, or do they keep pushing your boundaries? How do they respect your boundaries? And you have to decide what your boundaries are going to be and then determine, are they respecting those? And then another one that will be very helpful to help you not get love bombed is keep your own activities and your friends. If they're trying to pull you away from your friends and pull you away from the things you've been doing before, that is not true love. True love is going to support you in being your own full self. And they're not going to feel like they have to be with you every moment of every day and that they have 100% of your attention. If it's true love, they're going to know that these other things that you do help you be your whole full self, which brings a healthier you to the relationship. So keep your activities, keep your friends in your family, keep all those relationships, and allow yourself to hear feedback from your friends and family. When it gets appropriate, let them meet them. Ask them, what do you think? Tell them, I give you permission to speak freely and honestly, and listen to what they say. You don't have to necessarily agree with what they say, but at least be willing to look at it. I found that with my second husband, who's an alcoholic, I kept excusing him in my brain. This, that, this, that, this, that. But if I ever allowed myself to talk to my friends, and I would say those same things, I would hear what an excuse this was. I would hear how this doesn't make sense. This is just me sweeping it under the rug. So allow yourself to talk to your friends, speak the words out loud, hear how they sound, and listen to what they say, and be willing to look at what they say. And these things will help you not fall the next time you possibly get love bombed. Now you're saying, Melanie, this is really depressing. How are we going to know? Are we going to be afraid every time we go out with someone if we have a quick connection? Is that impossible? Is there not such a thing as true love? There is. It might be difficult to discern it, but yes, let's talk about that. There is true love, but here are some characteristics that of true love versus love bombing. First of all, it's two-sided. Both of you feel the same way. It's not one person pushing the other person. It feels right for both of you. You don't feel pressure, you don't feel weird, you don't feel confusion. Even if it's possibly moving fast, and we all know people who say, The moment I met them, I knew that was the one. That's possibly true. I'm not saying it's not, but you have to discern whether that is the true thing or whether it's the love bombing. And if that is true, even if it's going fast, you're not going to feel rushed. You're not going to feel rushed or pressured. It's going to feel good, smooth, fine. You're going to have peace about it. If you're heading into a marriage, even if it's the hour before the wedding, if you have bad feelings in your gut, if this does not feel right, don't go through with it. Don't think, oh, I've already bought all this stuff, I've paid all this stuff, all these people are here. Everyone that loves you enough to come to your wedding would prefer for you to break it off before the wedding than afterwards. It's so much easier to clean up the mess. It's such a huge mess once you get married, you stay together, you have the kids. It's so much harder. So let yourself look at everything early on. If early on you feel like it's love bombing, cut it off, move on. There are other people. And then when you finally hit that right one, when you're holding yourself and you find that right one, it will feel right and you won't feel pressured and love bombed. So I mentioned this several times. This is the kind of stuff that coaches can help you with. I'm a trauma and resilience coach. I love coaching women who are coming out of toxic relationships and helping you not get into another toxic relationship as you move on. You can go to my website, KimberlyCoaching.com. You can click the link at the bottom of the show notes. You can watch my videos on my YouTube channel. There are many ways that you can contact me, and I would love to talk with you and see if I can help out. Meanwhile, have a great day. Be aware of what's going on around you. Don't get love bombed.